Ascension.
So just unclench your jaw, relax your tongue, and on the count of 3, take a big inhalation. And when you let out your breath, imagine that you're letting go of all negativity. Breathing in, and then out negativity. Hold your breath at the top, and then release all the negative breath. Hello, welcome to Fluid Ascension. My name is Drew, and the only acceptance you need is from yourself. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Jadie White. Hello, Jadie.
Hello, Drew. Thank you so much for having me. That was a beautiful introduction.
No, like looking at you, like it just brings so much happiness to me. Like you're one of the people that I really do have a soul connection with, and your radiance and your like perseverance and your strength. Just watching you live in your life basically is really beautiful. So I'm very, very grateful for you to be here today.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Yeah, we've known each other for years now, and it's just crazy because you're kind of one of the only people that I've really kept in contact with from uni and from the other side of the world, because obviously I'm in Australia right now. So it's so beautiful to kind of hold this space with you today and just kind of have this conversation with you. So I'm really grateful too.
Completely. We've definitely come a long way. Like I was looking at old tagged pictures of us together in first year,
Oh my
and we
goodness.
just completely different. And like what we valued in life was so different to now. So it's nice to actually grow and evolve and see someone else on the same sort of path. So that's really cool.
Definitely. And it's just so interesting how different people evolve because, you know, from uni, you're just trying to find your feet and you're just, you know, blending in with everyone or just like the status quo. But then as you come out, you start to realign with yourself and just start to gravitate towards things that really do align with you. And it's nice to see what people stay and what people kind of, you know, fall off.
Oh, completely. And when your life does go on a slightly different path and you can sort of see other people being faced with challenges. And so for me to see you, you know, move to London and then not really feel London so much and then just go to Australia, and now your like lifestyle and what you value has changed so much. But I'm looking at that like, wow, I like really, really rate that. Like it's nice to see someone else kind of feed their light and let that radiate out into their reality.
Mm. And I think it's really important to understand as well that we all like whatever we do in our life or whatever challenges or choices that we make, our essence is still us. I don't know if you kind of understand that, but I just feel like me being 10 years ago and me 10 years in advance, me is still me, you know, like you is still
100%.
you. We just, our mentality just evolves, our experiences evolve. So, you know, at the true essence, we are always us, and we've kind of got to, you know, affirm that.
Beautiful. And I think that is really in essence of what I want to encapsulate in this episode. So kind of looking at transcending negativity, because for a long time, I used to just see myself as I need to be walking towards the light. I need to be going towards light. I need to go towards light. But actually in duality, in this reality, we have sort of two sides to us. So for us to be brighter, I see it as sort of acknowledging the negative and the shadow within us, but working with that and sort of combining the both for us to be the fullest, most truest reflections of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you've definitely got to acknowledge both sides because that is you, and you've got to show love towards both sides.
Completely.
And when we say negativity, I mean, there are some sad emotions, or, you know, I don't know how, I'm never really one to call something bad or good. I don't really believe in bad or good. I think that it's your perception of it.
Completely.
Yeah, so whatever it is, I think, and also I feel like the worst situations that we're in, you know, well, not the worst, but the most challenging emotions that we experience are actually the greatest breakthroughs. And they're the
Oh
things,
my God, yes.
yeah, they're the things that really kind of just take us out of our shell and really align us with who we are supposed to be. Like when everything's good in your life, you're kind of just on this, you're just riding the wave, do you know what I mean? But when things are bad, essentially, you're forced to confront yourself in a new way. Like, you're kind of reflected with yourself, and there's no escape, you know. And it just kind of evolves you into the person you're supposed to be.
It's kind of like the idea as well that everything in your reality is a reflection. So if you're seeing negativity in other people, you're actually seeing negativity
Mm,
within yourself.
yeah.
So if you're, for example, hanging around, or you've got a lot of toxic friends, for example, or friends that don't make you feel good or make you feel that you need to, I don't know, look a certain way,
Mm.
then that's probably because you've not come to terms with your true self and how you want to look, and therefore you're seeing that reflected in the people that you're with, and it's just making you be stuck in a lower vibrational kind of negative state.
100%. I think your whole reality is a mirror. You know, we're reflected by everything that we see. So, you know, as soon as your mentality changes, you start to see the world in a completely different way. And especially, I think it's most evident with people. When we see people and we see traits in people that we don't like, that's actually the traits in us that we don't like about ourselves. It's being reflected back onto us. Um, and with that, it's then an indication to then, you know, look at ourselves more deeply and work out where those bad traits are and really work on those.
First of all, you can get lost in the light and you can get lost in the dark. And if we talk about making ourselves shine brighter, incorporating both, and I sort of see the more we work on ourselves, we're not just mirrors anymore, we become prisms.
Ooh.
So that when we're creating this prism within ourselves, which I'm really sorry, but I couldn't find the quote in my journal. But when we make that prism within ourselves, when the light is shone on us, we shine in all different directions.
Nice. I love that.
Because there is light and dark in everything. And obviously when you kind of go into that like ascension, sort of like working on yourself process, it's all one of the first things you like confront is your ego.
Mhm.
But rather than
Let's talk about ego. Because, oh my goodness, have I had a confrontation with egos in the past year? Have you?
yeah, it was one of the, but it's the first thing I think, well, one of the first things you work on personally. But what I was gonna say is that your ego doesn't have to be this really bad thing. You can make that ego work for you, because as I said, there's like light and dark in everything.
Yes. Oh my God. It's just a whole nother ball game. Because yeah, I get when you say you have to make it work for you, because obviously ego is a part of you, you know, and it's not going
Uh-huh.
anywhere. You're going to be confronted with your ego in every situation that triggers you. But it's about choosing. When you're confronted with a situation where your ego is triggered, it's asking yourself, do I choose now to respond with my ego, or do I respond with my higher self? And it really takes a lot of conscious effort to, you know, decide which one you go with.
Do you think that you've reshaped your ego into something that is actually beneficial to you?
I don't know about reshaped, because I think my ego is that I've become aware of it and I know when to use my ego and when not to.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's consciously deciding to, I don't know, I think we've got different perceptions of ego, because I kind of see it as, I like to up level my ego. So I see ego as kind of down here and it kind of validates
Okay.
me. But my higher self doesn't need validation, you know, like my higher self knows what its existence is, knows its value of existence, and kind of just up levels everything that my ego needs. It's kind of
Right,
like,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
yeah, like my
That
ego
makes a lot
kind
of
of
sense.
has like quite a desperate energy. I think my ego is very linked to a lot of my childhood trauma, a lot of you know, just emotional triggers from my past, and it kind
Uh-huh.
of just pulls in everything that I need, and it's just a bit desperate. Whereas my higher self knows that I'm okay by myself and knows
Uh-huh.
that, you know, I'm higher than that.
Completely. I think that the only thing that I've learned to do, which I'm not so much sure if it's specifically to do with ego, but not sticking up for myself in arguments and allowing someone's ego to completely stamp on me.
Oh,
But
okay.
now it's like learning to sort of like slip through the cracks, but still stand up for myself, but in a way that isn't ego driven.
Uh huh.
if that makes sense. So like if you are in a confrontation with someone or a partner or whatever, and it's like ego, like blah blah blah, like coming towards you, rather than saying something because you know it's gonna like hurt someone, but saying it in a way that's sort of basically, if I'm gonna act out of my ego, I think twice and I don't think out of my ego anymore. Like, not to allow your ego to be acknowledging your ego's there and these voices to be there, but choosing to like see through that and to, as you say, like go up towards your higher self and get to the like truth of the situation in which you're in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think your ego also irritates and triggers someone else's ego. So if we were
Uh-huh.
in an argument, and my ego was talking, that would trigger your ego to then talk, you know? So it's about then
Yeah.
taking responsibility for your higher self to take over and actually just stop the ego trip, the ego play. So when was a time when you've chosen your higher self over your ego in an argument or confrontation?
Oh God. When I chose my ego,
Acknowledged your ego, but you've chosen to choose your higher self to respond instead.
probably like when me and my sister had a bit of a disagreement.
What triggered you from that conversation? What was the
Just
trigger?
like a lack of awareness of me personally, like not really taking what I perceived as like my needs at the time. Like I was coming to her for advice and she just sort of downtrodden it on me, which I didn't like. But I could have basically just resorted to a like an egotistical like comeback and just sent her like this big thing of like, what's your problem, blah blah blah.
Mm.
But I was like, you know what, like we live very different lives, we have very different like opinions on things, and we're also different. We've got different takes on materialism. Both of us are acting within ourselves, but not in a way that's beneficial to each other. I basically had to like realize that she was coming from a place of love, even though what she said didn't help me in that particular moment of time.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful example, actually, because it's really key to understand sibling relationships, especially in isolation. I think that's kind of the hardest because your sibling knows your triggers, knows what's going to hurt you. And obviously, she was coming from a place of love, as you've acknowledged now, from your higher self. But your ego self would have, seen that as, why are you trying to go against me? Like, why are you trying to hurt me? So it's really, really great that you could have taken yourself out of that situation and really like responded with your higher self, which I'm sure kind of diffused the fire between your two relationship in that circumstance.
It happened very organically. Like she called me and she was like, look, it's fine. Like I just worry about you. Like you're my brother. Like I'm protective over you. And I was like, look, like she was like, I know you've been in a really dark place. I don't want you to go back there. I was like, I won't go back there. Like it's fine. Like basically the connection we had was it was a higher self to higher self connection. It wasn't ego. It wasn't like, it was a real nice sort of like acknowledgement of each other's energy. And then it's just been amazing after that, really.
Yeah. And that's just the key example of, choosing your higher self over your ego and seeing it, reaping the rewards from it, like speaking with love can only combat with love. Like when you speak to someone with love, they can only ever respond with love back, it's just like it's a reciprocal energy. So if I come to you in a disrespectful way, you're going to take up on that energy and you're going to come back at me in a disrespectful energy, right?
Hmm. How
Um,
have you, because obviously, so I just want to flip the question back, but give it a slight little twist.
yeah.
So, how have you, with this base of knowledge of ego, higher self, how have you dealt with someone coming to you from their ego and putting that ego onto you?
Okay, well, I've really been faced with a lot of ego in my current relationship. And I've realized the pattern in my relationships has been very ego driven in the past. But I'm in a relationship now where we're very open and honest with each other and we have that mutual respect for one another. We're on the same kind of wavelength. Um,
Beautiful.
so when our egos do come up, which they do, we're both equally as responsible to acknowledge that and call each other up on it. So we're having a discussion and Paul says something in an ego way, I know automatically that it's his ego talking. So I take a moment and I remind myself, hold on, this is not him talking. This is not Paul that I know talking right now. This is his ego talking. And I actively choose not to respond to that because I don't want to absorb that energy. Do you know what I mean? So I have a responsibility to detach from that kind of energy. And not all the time. Like, he'll probably watch this and be like, because not all the time. Like, a lot of the time I do respond with ego and then he comes back with ego. But when it's that, I'm quite quick to, when he comes back to me with ego, I'm very quick to acknowledge it and then stop it, rather than go onto a domino effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, definitely.
So because I know him well, I know that when it's his ego talking and when it's him talking. So yeah, it's a responsibility to not absorb the energy and to then choose to respond with love and come back to a level. So as soon as when I come back to a level with him, then he can come back to me on a level and his ego goes. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I think it's beautiful, and I think that is the key to ascending, working on yourself. It's the key to acknowledge that there's your ego, there's your higher self, there's your physical self, there's your spirit self. Like, acknowledging the different parts of you is key, because there are some people out there who don't see them as having an ego. They just think their ego is themselves,
Right.
which makes it very, very hard when you interact with some people that don't have that distinction, and they will just act out of ego and treat you however they're going to treat you.
Mhm.
Whereas obviously it sounds to me like with your and Paul's relationship, you both acknowledge your ego and your sort of higher self and your physical self. So
Yeah.
you can say, look, I forgive you because of that was your ego and not you. Whereas interacting with others, which I have definitely done in the past, those that don't see that and just have this big ego that is based on falsity or whatever, it's so much more harder to get to them and get them to see what lies beneath the ego.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, actually, and I'm glad that you raised that.
Thank you, babe.
Because yeah, that is a really good point. I mean, I'm very lucky in the terms that we're in because he does acknowledge it, And when we have an argument, he says to me, "I'm sorry, I have an ego too," and I look,
Oh, that's so cute,
yeah, and
man.
I look at him and I'm like, "Do you know what? I'm so grateful that you have that maturity and conscious awareness
It's
of."
a blessing.
Yeah, and I've been in relationships in the past where they haven't been aware that they have any sides to them apart from their three-dimensional person, two-dimensional
Mm,
person even. So yeah, it's definitely a blessing. And I think when you're talking to people who aren't aware of their ego, I think it's important to understand that we have no control over anyone else's consciousness, right? Like, we only have control over us and what we know and what we acknowledge. So if we are reacting with our higher self, sometimes the best thing to do is not to react at all. So if
completely.
someone who's unconscious is coming to me and they're talking with their ego, and I'm very aware that it's with their ego, I will remove myself. If that's physically, like walking away and, detaching myself energetically from that, or responding in a very placid way, like, okay, I understand, that's not, or just simply we'll see, like we'll see is kind of just a whatever. There's nothing, you can't reply to anything from that. So therefore, I'm removing
Completely.
myself from the situation.
I think another thing that I've had to learn, as someone that is, I mean, I would class myself as an empath and someone that like is very sensitive to like other people's emotions and just sort of like really good at like picking up vibes and picking up energies from different people.
Yeah.
What I've had to do is a lot of the times I'd meet someone and I would see straight past their ego and I'd see their like higher self, their inner child, and I would like fall in love with that person, like really, really just value that person. So any ego that they had around that, I would just sort of like dodge that and look to it. But
Mm,
one thing that I am realizing moving forward through life is that the people that haven't acknowledge that ego and work to dismantle it or make the ego work for them are people that haven't done as much work on themselves as maybe you have, or someone else has, and you need to kind of take responsibility for that, in the sense of, okay, you may be an amazing person, like you may be, I see the pure light within you, but the ego in the way is blocking your light from shining out, and
Right.
I'm gonna not put up with that. I'm not gonna
Right.
allow your ego.
Amen. Amen.
I'm not gonna allow it, babe, because you need to get
Yeah.
rid of that fucking
No,
you need to you
it's
need
so real. It's so real.
you need to get rid of that ego.
The only option we have is, am I going to allow this or am I going to walk away? You know, that's all, because you cannot control the other person. You can't control
Completely.
their evolution. You can't control how much work they do to themselves. You cannot force someone to come on the same spiritual journey as you. You know,
Oh,
you can only
100%.
be the leader and do your own work. And if they follow, great. But if they're not following, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to go. Do you know what I mean?
See you later.
Yeah, like it's so real. You have to just decide, like, part of self-care, I think number one of self-care is knowing what you deserve and knowing what you're going to put up with.
Seek what serves you.
Yeah, and you cannot invest your energy into people or situations that are not serving you, that are not on the same level as you, and that you're kind of pulling this dead weight along because they haven't done their own work, and that's fine. People go at their own pace, and I want to, express that it's fine for you to go at your own pace, but I can't, if I'm at this pace, I can't be, dragging you along. You have to take responsibility at some point.
Being connected to you with through social media and seeing that you are in Australia in comparison to here, and just seeing how like different people are being affected with it. Obviously we're all in isolation, so it's what's happening in the UK is happening in Australia and everywhere else. But I think what really kind of like, well, it didn't surprise me because I knew it, but it was very like reaffirming and nice to me, was that when it all started to happen, I just really like settled in within myself,
Mm.
and I just was like, I'm fine. Like I'm so fine. I feel so calm. I feel so in love and in tune and grounded and anchored in self-love. And then I'd like speak to you, JD, and you'd be feeling the exact same way.
Mm.
So it really made me kind of think that, wow, we have done so much work as a collective for people in different parts of the world to be sort of connected with that same energy, with that same like, no, it's fine, like we're cool, we're grounded, we're doing the work now, we've got to reach out to other people. I mean, the reason we're here, basically one of, is because we're like, no, like let's make people feel calm. So it's like, I don't know. I think that, and that's the beauty and the positivity with the isolation and what's happening right now, is just that like people really are anchoring into their truth. And I think that's something that wouldn't have been able to have been done to the same level unless something like this was going on.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's actually a blessing, and I think it's forcing humanity to really just take a step back, stop from this busy lifestyle that really is no importance to, the world at all, and to really just be faced with you, yourself, and I. Um, and it's just crazy how different people have reacted and responded in this circumstance. Like, some people are excelling, like as you said, you're feeling good in yourself, you come home to yourself and you're really
Mm.
excelling. Where there's other people that have really just like introverted themselves and just, hid themselves from the world because they can't deal with it. There's other people that are just becoming so busy and just trying to do everything in the house just to keep them distracted. I just find it so interesting how different people are responding in the same circumstance, because it really does show people's true essence. Um, and also, there's no right or wrong way, and I think that's the beauty of it too. There's literally no right or wrong way of how people are supposed to be responding to this situation or reacting to this. It's just whatever works for you.
Completely. I think the seeing people be comforted for different things, like even generationally, like my granddad is like watching like war films, and part of me is like, you literally lived through the war, yet you're watching films about the war like all the time.
Oh,
But I'll let him do his thing. And then obviously like my dad is like watching reruns of stuff, and then my mum's like cleaning the house, and I'm just like meditating, and I'm like, we're all so unique in our like our coping mechanisms.
yeah.
But I think as no matter where you're at in your evolution as a person, as long as you're buying into yourself, I'm absolutely like cool with. I think it's when people are buying into sort of fear and panic and not buying into themselves and buying into negativity, it's having an adverse effect on them. So
Right.
I think that whatever you want to work on within yourself, obviously it's a great time to just like get in touch with yourself and not, not I'm not saying everyone has to like go in and do all the work straight away, but just start the process of clearing energies and things out that don't resonate with you anymore. So, however that looks for you, but allowing yourself to have that voice in your head to kind of guide you into what to do, as opposed to in the busy society of, always looking for the next motive to keep you distracted. Like, I feel right now it's like no distractions.
Right. But as you said with the ego thing, like some people aren't aware that they have an ego. What if some people aren't aware that they need to do work, And like you're saying, that people need to be doing the work right now, but what if they have no clue how to kind of navigate through that? Like what advice would you give them to kind of navigate through working for themselves?
I mean, I would say basically spend more time with yourself, listen to your like self, your internal voice more, like create and build an internal dialogue. So one thing that you can do is like when you're on a walk, talk to yourself. And
Oh no.
I know that sounds a bit kooky crazy to some of our listeners, but it is
We're all
one.
crazy out here. Some people just hide it better than others.
Honestly, like it's one of the things that's really helped me. Like if I'm going through something and to make myself look not so crazy, I'll like put earphones in and I'll
You
like
tell me
pretend that
about
I'm on a phone call and I'll just be literally talking something through.
that.
Actually, once this boy messaged me on Instagram, he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw you in Dalston today." I was like, "Oh, why didn't you say hi?" And he was like, "Well, you were pacing up and down the platform talking to yourself, and I didn't interrupt you." I was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like
Oh,
me. That sounds like me."
that was definitely me.
But yeah, like
That's so funny.
yeah, so have earphones in and just talk to yourself like, "Yeah, I'm having a really good day today." Like, because
Yeah.
basically I've done it so much that like when I'm in a dialogue, I'll stop referring to myself as like me and start referring to myself as you.
Right.
So like if I was like anxious or worried about someone, I was like, "You've got this. Like, you're doing exactly what you need to be doing, Drew. Like, seriously, like, cut yourself some slack. Like, you've spent a lot of time working on this, and this will come to fruition. Like, what we're doing together is this. What we're doing together is that." And
Yeah.
it'll almost slip into this like dialogue coming from my higher self because I'll be
Yes.
saying things that surprise me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I see that as my high self communicate and say, look, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going to go. So come on, let's do
Oh,
this. And it's like, honestly, it's so beautiful. So I would really recommend anyone just,
best friends with your higher self, and like because you've grown that trust with your higher self, you can now trust that he is always going to be with you.
working on yourself more and clearing out energy, clearing out negativity, or essentially when I spoke earlier about like making that prism within yourself to like make light shine brighter, I see it as the more negativity you clear out of your 3D self, the more you are able to embody and welcome in your higher self. Obviously, your higher self is like your true essence, right? It's like the highest form of you. So the more you work on yourself in a physical sense, whether it be looking after your body, looking after your diet, looking after your like mental health, looking after like all of that, like clearing your chakras, all of that, like that's more that your higher self can basically show you things.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a pasta drainer. When you've got the pasta and the water goes through, you need to just drain all that bullshit out to get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so real. Like, and I think it's so important to talk about releasing negative energies, or not even negative, just stagnant energies, just energies that are not really serving you. And it's knowing what is the best thing to heighten your frequency and not to kind of slam yourself down.
And I think that's what's so great about isolation as well, because it removes a lot of things that I personally like didn't vibe with, which is obviously like I know my body and I know how my body clock works and what I enjoy doing. So to be able to like wake up when I want to wake up and do things that I want to do when I want to do it without following like a strict, you've got to
Version.
do this at this time and this time and this time, blah, blah, blah. It's been really nice to like flow with intention. Like a
Yeah.
few of the spiritual guides that I like view online, I can't remember specifically who said this, but it's definitely a recurring theme of like, as you move more into the 5D, your life becomes more dreamlike,
Mm.
and you sort of the dream and reality kind of get mixed in a way. Like your day just is very flowy.
Mm.
So like I've really, whilst in isolation, just really every day just been trying to get into a flow, and it's so nice seeing my day evolve in such a different way. Like I haven't physically moved anywhere, I'm still living in the same town in Essex, but for example, whereas I would, you know, get home from London or work or whatever, I would like, you know, drive to the gym, drive back, like have a bath, watch Netflix, bed. Oh God, I've got to meditate. Okay, have a bath,
Right.
like watch a little bit of like Netflix. Oh, I'll meditate quickly, then go to clear my chakras, then I'll go to bed. Whereas it's now, it's like, okay, well, you know, I know I want to exercise at some point and I want to meditate at some point. So let me like basically take a walk up to this farm near me where there's like loads of countryside,
Mm.
and then I'll listen to a podcast, like, and then when I feel like it, I'll go round to like where this wooded tree area is, and it's just overlooks this like yellow field of flowers. So I'll be like listening to music, but I'll be just doing like pull-ups on a tree, and
Yeah.
like I'll just do sit-ups on the tree, like
Yeah. And then you got your
on the grass in front of the forest, and then I'll like, you know, sit, meditate maybe, and then as I leave, like say thank you to Gaia and to like the nature surrounding me, and then go home. So
mm.
I've done like, so it's like a routine that's
Mm.
parallels each other, you know, meditation, working out, same town, but it's just completely different experience.
And
And I think finding that experience that works for you within isolation in that way is the most amazing way to get in touch with yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think what's important with what you said was how you just trusted your intuition for your schedule. And I think that is such a key lesson for a lot of your listeners, viewers, because a lot of people haven't got a routine at the moment and they don't know how to schedule their routine. But I think, as you just said, like trusting your intuition and going with what feels right at the time, everything kind of just seamlessly adds together, and then you end up doing everything you wanted to do because it's in your intention. So something that I do in the mornings is every morning when I meditate, like I have a very strict morning routine. So I'll wake up really early, maybe like 5:36. I'll go make a cup of green tea and I'll just like warm my body. I'll down like a litre of water just so I'm like really hydrated. And then I go outside and I just do some stretching meditation. So I'll just stretch my body and just do whatever feels good, like whatever I'm feeling all niggly, I just stretch it out. Um, and while I'm meditating, I really feel into what is it that you need to do today, Jadie? Like, what is it that you feel called to do today? And whatever that is, whether that's, you know, having a productive day where I tick everything off my to-do list, or if it's a creative day where I'm editing a video, or if I'm just, I don't know, drawing or writing, or if it's a chill day where I just watch Netflix all day. I give myself that permission at the moment to
Wow.
just do that. So I really just really tune in and ground myself with my intuition. What is it that your body needs right now? You know, what do you need today? And the whole day just, it's because you've given yourself that permission from the start of the day, you're kind of lessening yourself of that guilt feeling and that shame because you've already
Mhm.
told yourself, well, this is what I'm going to do today. So therefore you feel productive. Does that make sense?
So powerful. And I really just felt like I was with you through your day. Like,
Mm.
as soon as you started speaking about you stretching, I just imagined myself like kind of viewing that from the sidelines. But yeah, it's so, so true, because it's like, it's also, when we're speaking about forming that relationship with ourselves, it's also like allowing your higher self to take the wheel and to
Yeah.
guide you, because obviously your higher self knows best, and basically allowing your higher self and the universe to guide you where you need to be today, because that's what you should be going with. I think one thing that I've learned is that resistance is the enemy. So any form of resistance through like negativity, or through something not quite working out for you, or an idea or something that's not coming to fruition in a certain way, it's resistance.
Right.
And you could have that relationship with that object. So for example, say money, you can have such a resistance to money because you're creating a, I need money, but when's it going to come? Like, when's money going to come? It won't come to you because you're creating resistance. So one thing that I really try to work to do is just remove all resistance. And it's kind of like what you're saying about like just stepping into your flow and just allowing and giving yourself permission to be guided, is removing that resistance.
Resistance is such a hard thing to remove, and it's also an indication of fear a lot of the time. Like when resistance comes up, it's like you have to really think like, is this fear, or is this my intuition telling me that you're not supposed to be doing this?
Perception of negativity. I think there is definitely an element of perception with resistance, because if you had your heart set on something for you, but there was resistance there and it didn't work out, you could be like, oh, what, I didn't align with that. Like, why didn't I align with it? But it's like the resistance was there to actually put you on a different trajectory for you to discover and do something else. So
Yeah.
that original thing that you had the resistance against, that didn't work out for you, actually turned out to be a blessing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I see resistance as an energy that you work with, as opposed to something you try to like fight so
Yeah,
much, you
that's
know.
definitely true. Yeah, and you have to kind of trust that the resistance is pulling you away from something that's going to sabotage you in the future. Like a massive example
Completely.
of this was when I was starting my life coaching business in January. I was so, my head was so dedicated into putting it into fruition and just being like, you need to do it now, Jadie. Like, you waited too long. Like, just do something, make a step forward. But there was so much resistance coming up. You know, and I'm a very self-motivated person, so that all this resistance was just like, where's this coming from? And when I had a call with my coach, she said to me, what if this resistance is actually your higher self stopping you from moving too fast and ruining something that could potentially damage you later down the
Wow.
line?
Wow.
And I was just gobsmacked. I was like, I've never even thought of it that way, you know? Like sometimes your resistance is, as you said, working with you to kind of hold you back from things that are going to damage you later down the line, because your higher self knows that this is important to me. So why am I going to rush into something that I'm going to hold for life? Do you know what I mean?
I think maybe trust is the opposite to resistance. Having resistance to something, just trust that whatever's an obstacle in your way is there for a reason, whether it wants you to level up, to move out of it so you're more prepared for the next stage, or whether you just need to trust that this is going to play out in the way for you.
Yeah.
I think that trust is definitely a tool that I've used to kind of like combat resistance, because there's been such big resistance to certain elements in my life that I was so sure that I wanted. But as I've trusted the universe and trusted my own guide and my spirit guides and everything that's assisting me right now in this life, and it's been always proven, oh, so that's why that happened. Like I was put in that position so I'd now be in this position.
Right.
And I think having that trust for your higher self and for the universe is a really powerful tool.
Hmm. But how do you know what is coming to you from your higher self and what is coming to you from ego? You know, like how do you know that what decision you're making is coming from higher self, or what's coming from, you know, I want this because this is going to make me look better?
I'm so glad you said that, because it really just brings this whole thing full circle. And it is that relationship you have with yourself, believing in your source. So, like your source as a person, your brand, like how you are, and also believing in your source. So, believing in your source of light and where the light comes from, and listening to that source as opposed to an ego, which, let's be real, is like a very man-made thing. It's something that you've worked very hard to construct. Whereas your higher self, obviously feeding your light and stuff, enables your higher self to be more there. You don't create your higher self self is always there. Believing in your source and believing in that, as opposed to believing in a construct that you have created, aka an ego, is the way to be.
And isn't that so interesting how, you know, when we're babies, we don't really have an ego. We don't have an ego because we're babies, you know. So we are essentially our highest self when we're a baby, because we are based off intuition, you know. Everything we need, we ask for. If we're hungry, we get food. Like, if we're upset, we cry. You know, it's all intuition based. But as we get older, we start constructing this socially, constructed, conditioned version of ourselves. And then as we get older, we're kind of sending more towards back to our higher self. Does that make sense? It's all just a circle.
A circle of learning and bringing the lessons throughout your life. And even in isolation now, we can see that like everyone's kind of stuck, or everyone's in a point where they're looking back at their life, like looking forward in their life. It's such like a point in time where you evaluate, okay, what's worked well for you, what's not worked well for you. And I think like looking at people old of different generations having these different thoughts, it's very, very interesting. But I think there's always that like yearning to go back to that childlike state where you don't have an ego, and whether it is just pure light and love. You know, I think love is what lasts, and just embodying love and kind of spreading love and sharing love is the most important thing. And I think we are being forced right now to remember that, and for us to carry that within ourselves forward in order for our life to reflect the love inside out.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think all we have right now is love, you know, like in the systems we're in, it's forcing us to connect in levels that we didn't even know we could connect in.
I didn't even know Zoom existed. Now look, I'm connecting on there, babe.
Yeah, like it's just like connecting us in all different levels, and like all of the grudges that we held are once not important because now we're all in a state of urgency and we just need love, you know. We need to just radiate that love and receive that love and be open to receiving that love.
Letting go of that resistance to things that you relied on or craved for your ego or for an image, because there ain't an image anymore you need.
We've got our social media still, and that's still our socially constructed image. But even then, I don't really see a lot of ego being posted on social media. I see a lot of gratitude, actually. I see a lot of gratitude and a lot of positivity. Yeah, a lot of love, just people sharing the love and showing support. So yeah, it's a beautiful time to be alive.
It is a beautiful time to be alive. And I think, you know, remaining grateful and anchoring into love and into yourself is the way forward. Stepping into my light and incorporating my shadows in order for myself to be the most purest expression of me within this reality, for anyone on any level to view me as. You know, if you've not worked on certain aspects or worked on other certain aspects, you will view me how you view me. But ultimately, I am me and I love me, and that's what I'm bringing to the world, and that's how I'm going to be. I'm not looking around thinking I need to be like this or I need to aspire like this, because this moment right now is perfect.
And it's just really, and that love that you have for yourself is really going to radiate through to everyone that you encompass and everyone that you know, have encounters with. And that's so special, and will be attached to your light. So it's not, you know, it's just living in your true authentic self, and other people, that's what's the word, that's contagious. You know, people will like cling on to that and do the work themselves because they see that you're embodying that yourself.
When this all sort of happened, did you feel a calling to help others, and how did you kind of like process that to where you are now?
Yeah, I really felt a massive calling to just, because I was in quite a low place actually before this coronavirus stuff happened. Just feeling very unpurposeful and just like I'm not showing my light. And as soon as all this coronavirus stuff come up, and there was so much fear, I could just feel so much fear from everyone that I loved, you know. And surprisingly, I was feeling so calm and so enlightened to just help and support. And I know that that's my calling in life, is to just help, you know, just to be of service to people and to show them the light and to guide them towards the light. And I really just felt that, like it just embodied me, and I was like, oh my god, I feel so alive right now.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy because I was around so many people that weren't feeling that at all. But it really just showed me my leadership skills and showed me that I'm a leader on this earth, and I really need to level up and embody that leader role that I have, and help people, for the intention to help people. So there has been a lot of resistance still about what I need to do in order to show that light. But I think the important thing is giving yourself that compassion and understanding that it's okay that you don't know what you need to do, but it's great that you know where you're at. Does that make sense? Like, you know what it is that you need to do now, but it's okay that you don't know how to do it. Just work with it, just stay true to yourself, stay authentic, keep doing your spiritual practices, and keep grounding yourself to you, be at home with yourself, and everything will kind of flow naturally.
And just stepping into that flow, allowing the universe, and your destination is set and you will get there. But to get there, you need to trust the process.
We are like grains of sand in this whole universe, like we have no significance really.
Apart from me.
Yeah, you know. Like every decision we make, we think is going to be really impactful and really like serious. But if we actually see it as we're just choosing an avenue, which avenue we go to, but we're still going to end up at the same place, So whatever decision we make, we choose different lessons to learn, but we still end up at the same place. God is just kind of looking down at us, or whoever's up there is looking down at us and just laughing and just thinking,
Oh my God, I was literally saying this to my friend.
You're taking this so damn serious. Like, you're supposed to be here to have fun, to bloody have fun. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Why are you stressing so much?
100% agree with that. 100%. Follow your greatest excitement until you can't go any further. Just follow that excitement within you. And when you stop being excited, stop following it. But that is literally, we're here to have fun. We're here. Life isn't so serious. And that's the vibe and the energy that I love in right now. It's just like, it's not like, oh, this year I need to, do this, or this year I need to like travel. I need to go here by this date. It's like the world's not going anywhere. Like,
Right.
you're just allow yourself to, as you said earlier, like give yourself permission to just be and to just experience.
And that's why I think this isolation thing is teaching us as well, is that we have all these plans, and plans are just stupid because plans never go to plan, really, do they? So when we make plans, God kind of laughs at us and is just looking at us like, that's not going to happen. Like, I've already got a plan for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when, obviously, because everyone's plans have been cancelled or rescheduled, it's forcing them to have an alternative perspective. Like, oh, well, actually, Greece is going to still be there when I come out of quarantine, like my uni is still going to graduate me when I finish. Like, it's just like everything's still going to be there when this is over with. So why are we stressing? Why don't we just absorb the moment and just make the most of what the lessons are that are right here for us?
To even be so grateful right now to be in the countryside, and then to think like 2 or 3 months ago I was so desperate to move to London, and now I'm like, London who? Like, London for what? Why did I want to move so badly to London? Like, I just wanted,
Probably for ego-driven reasons.
exactly, I wanted to be living that like London life, like paying however much a month rent, and like really trying to, like, I don't know, at one point I wanted to like go to Soho House and like do all that sort of stuff, and now I'm just like, oh my God, like, no, like I want to be in like India.
And the fact that you even have those desires and those wishes to travel and do all those things, you're kind of already embodying that. Therefore, you're already attracting that. It's already in the pipeline for you because you can envisage that. You can envisage yourself doing it. It's already reality. So you've already got it.
Definitely. And I think that if you are lost, or if you are kind of like feel that you aren't on the right track, like, you will always come back to your light. You will always find your way back to where you are meant to be. And I think that if anyone listening is feeling like that, I would just say the more time you spend with yourself and the more you acknowledge resistance as being there for a reason, then the more you're going to be like gently coaxed and sometimes pushed into the direction that your life path should be on. as we embody our light, the world is going to reflect that. So I just wanted to sort of know, like, what have you learned over this time in isolation, and what are you looking to like manifest moving forward?
I rely and depend too much on other people's opinions and reassurance. I think it's more reassurance. If I've got a situation that I want to do, or something, an opportunity that I want to do, I will always go to people to get that validation back, saying, yeah, that's a really good idea, go for it. And then I'm like, okay, doing it. Do you know what I mean? But I've realized that a lot of the things that aligns with me doesn't always align with everyone else. And
Oh my
I
God, I've learned that too. I've literally learned the exact same lesson.
Yeah, I think it's
Really
beautiful
recently.
because it really just forces you to trust yourself and trust your own divine purpose and your own path, because no one is on the same path as me, and I know that. So in a sense, I'm kind of taking a detox from advice, and that's what I've kind of,
Yes, I love that.
yeah, like I just need that advice detox, and I need to just, and what I've started to do is if I have something that I need advice on, I will send myself a voice note saying, hey Jadie, and tell myself exactly what I would send my friend, but send it to myself. And I'd listen to it, and my higher self would then respond like, oh, I think this. Do you know what I mean?
So you're talking to yourself, you're having that dialogue.
Yeah, I'm having that dialogue, but through a physical realm of how I would usually do it with a friend or a family member. And no one is going to be able to define your path for you. You know, everyone's got their own path to be on, and some people won't understand, and that's fine. You have to be okay with people not understanding your vision, you know, because it's hard, because we want that validation. We want people around us to be like, yes, you're doing the right thing, you know, because from birth,
Mm.
from childhood, that's all we've wanted. We wanted positive reinforcement, right?
Yeah,
When we're adults, we're like, we need that positive reinforcement still, but we have to be okay that we're not always going to get that positive reinforcement, because people don't necessarily see things the way we do. They don't want what we want. Therefore, how can we possibly want validation from people that aren't wired the same way, you know?
completely. And I mean, you can even apply that to like other areas of your life, like for example social media. Like I used to, once upon a time, like if I uploaded a picture or something that I'd done or whatever, and I'd like lost any kind of followers, there would be part of me that would be like, no one understands me, like why are people unfollowing me? Like that's so, like, again, acting out of ego, being like, why are they like unfollowing me, like what? But now I just see it as, well, my energy just isn't resonating with them, and that's fine. Like
Right.
if
Some people are not your people, and that's okay.
it's just clearing space for something new to come in.
Yeah.
And I think that we should definitely take pride in having as much space as possible and being fluid in the sense of the way we live our lives and what things we have in it, because with that fluidity comes freedom, and it comes the opportunity for stuff to flow in and for you to like flow with it, as opposed to like just creating resistance and standing still in something and not allowing that flow to sweep you to the destination that you need to be going in.
But it's also being loving towards the things that are going and leaving you. Like, you know, you once served me at that point, so thank you, but I don't need you no more, you know, and just let it go with like loving, in a loving manner, rather than like a spiteful, like, oh, I'm better than you now.
Yeah, because if you did say, I'm better than you now, bye, then that is again your ego talking,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
which is an indication of, oh, if it's my ego talking, then that isn't the right way in which I should react to
Mhm.
something.
And then that you're automatically going to attract more things to trigger your ego, because you're responding with that ego.
And I think that, being in isolation is just a beautiful time to just like connect with yourself, see what serves you, see what new patterns you can start forming within your own life, and sort of like project yourself to where you want to be without having anything ego driven, or just like when I think of isolation, I just think of it as like a space to breathe, a space to be you, a space to be like bask in your own light. And I think that that is a really amazing thing that I really want more people to kind of tap into and see, as opposed to it being a really negative thing.
Mm, that's so true. And really just like looking at your routine that you have in isolation, and converting that or moving that into your everyday life when this is all over?
My ideal life, the way to live, is for me to be so in touch with myself that my life is a reflection of that, be
Yeah.
so in love with myself that my life is a reflection of that, and just move through life in a fluid, open way and allow the universe to bless and grant me different challenges and lessons and all of that amazing stuff so that I can really enjoy my time on earth to its fullest potential.
That's so beautiful. And it's so key to understand that your reality of life is purely a reflection of how you see yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, completely. And you know what? One thing that I do really want, I want everyone listening to not even necessarily take on what we've said, or for us to, for people to be like, oh, I need to live my life like them. Like, I want people to live their life for themselves.
Completely individually and authentically, and do whatever feels right for you and whatever feels good for you, and just follow that. Just do it time and time and time again until it becomes habit. Not like I can meditate every day and that feels good for me, but it might feel shit for you because you might get a sore back, and like actually stretching feels better for you. So just alter whatever is right for you and just do it. There's no right or wrong way.
100%. And, I think this is a great time. I think a lot of people will be kind of having those realizations. And I'm just excited for the future. I'm excited for this kind of like shift and this new sort of like ascended reality in which I see a lot of people creating within themselves. And for that to be reflected into this world in which we live, I think is going to be really beautiful to see.
Thank you so much for, welcoming me into this space and just kind of talking consciously.
Yeah, no, it is. It is a really beautiful way to connect. Thank you so much, Jadie. I really appreciate this exchange of energy, particularly that you're in Australia and I'm here in the UK, and it's nighttime and it's daytime for you. And
Duality at its finest.
yes, the shadow and the lights of the world are united. But
So beautiful.
I appreciate and love you so much. Thank you.
Fluid Ascension.